We are here in Grand Isle, Louisiana tonight, and today, in between thunderstorms, I was out on the water in Caminada Bay and in Barataria Bay to get what turned out to be a lesson in how not to respond to an oil spill. If you know absolutely nothing about how to use boom to protect shoreline from oil, from anything encroaching that you want to keep off that shoreline, if you know absolutely nothing about it, you probably still know enough to know that this isn't supposed to be what it looks like. What we're seeing right here, we're in Caminada Bay, which is just sort of in the backwaters off Grand Isle, Louisiana. What you can see here is the absorbent boom piled up on this little barrier island, on this little island here. And you see these bamboo poles that are sticking up? They're in this big line out here. The bamboo poles all behind me stretch all out here. The bamboo poles, those are supposed to be the anchor holding that absorbent boom in place. It's not working all that well. We're here with Dr. Mike Blum from Tulane. He's a professor of coastal marsh ecology. Mike, thanks for coming out here with us.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
This isn't right?
No, it's not doing its job as deployed and as designed. You would hope that it would be anchored in place, and that even under inclement weather conditions, and we're not actually having all that bad weather today.
Yeah.
A couple mile-an-hour winds. You can see that it gets pushed off the anchors and it gets pushed out onto the marshlands.
When we think about the different technology that's available, not to stop that blown out well, not even to prevent that blown out well from blowing out, not even to try to get the oil out of the water, but just to try to keep the oil offshore. Essentially what we're talking about is absorbent booms like this, the other kind of booms that are essentially have a different name.
We have booms that can
diversion booms,
divert the oil, right. Contain the oil.
So that you either absorb the oil with these booms, you divert the oil with the other solid booms.
Right.
Or that's it? Is there anything else?
That's about it, except we do have pom-poms. We have mats, absorbent mats, that once oil has been received into a marsh, you want to absorb it, you want to take it out of that marsh. And just the technical term is often referred to as pom-poms, absorbent mats.
Okay, but that's once the oil has actually come on shore.
That's right. That's right.
So my sense, just as a layman who doesn't know anything about this, is that we're not very good at keeping oil offshore once it's in the water.
No, so if you contrast the technological aspects of this, so we have bamboo poles and absorbent mats relative to billion-dollar investments in drilling technology, highly advanced drilling technology that allows us to reach into depths of over a mile offshore. And certainly there's been great investment and great need for that drilling technology, but there's an equal need for investment in response efforts.
And how much have response efforts gotten better over the last 30 years as drilling has gotten deeper and deeper and deeper, and oil companies have gotten more and more and more profitable to the point where you can't even write fairy tales about it without sounding like you're too crazy? How much improvement has there been in the technology for when things go wrong?
Most of the investment in terms of intellectual capacity and research was made around 1979 through the late 80s. And since about the late 80s, very little work has been done. Very little research dollars have been invested in response efforts, even understanding remediation technologies. How do you go about understanding what's available in the natural communities, what kind of simple technologies, what kind of advanced technologies can be implemented? Very little progress has been made over the last 25 years.
So as an academic, as a professor working in this field, are there endowed professorships and graduate programs that are supported by the industry to try to get the academic side of this, the intellectual side of this, sort of intellectual firepower directed toward these things, or no? No. Certainly there are individual efforts, and there's certainly individual interest in investing in research towards remediation and recovery, but by and far it has been outpaced by the investment made in engineering and drilling technologies. Talking about ecology for the moment, one of the issues is when you have a sheen like this, it prevents gas exchange. So the oxygen gets trapped or it gets stripped out of the water and the soil as microbes degrade the oil. So you get a surface coating, you don't get oxygen exchange, and then you get microbes that are basically taking all the oxygen out of the water. It's like a big dead zone, essentially. There's dead zones out here that preceded this spill in terms of the runoff from the Mississippi, right?
Exactly. So on an annual basis, every summer, a big dead zone surfaces due to influx of fertilizers from the Midwest all the way up through the Ohio River Valley, get deposited off the shore of Mississippi. Vast dead zone, hundreds of square kilometers. So something like that can potentially happen with the oil.
So you get this real thin sheen on the top of the water, but then you get these glops. Captain who we're with here says that when it gets warm, it spreads out real thin. Overnight, it tends to clump up more. Sometimes out here in the morning, this is more of what you'll see than out here after the full day of heat on it. What's that slogan? What's their logo? Beyond Petroleum? You almost see when you first see it in the water like this, you think it's a piece of trash, you know, or some sort of litter out here, or maybe even some sort of dead sea life. Then you notice it's got a gas station sheen around it. That's the consistency of the stuff that's floating out here in blobs. You can see there's some vegetation here that it's glopped onto. That's what it's like. You know, you see it on camera and you think you want to touch it and sort of see what it's like. Once you see it in person and you smell it, the desire to touch it goes away. You see, that doesn't come off. Beyond Petroleum, my ass. While we were out on the water today, we went to a very small island at the mouth of Barataria Bay, a very small island that is swamped with oil. I really wanted to see it, and we learned something from being there, but I got to tell you, being there was one of the grossest things I have ever done in my life, and I've done some gross things. The pretty unbelievable footage we shot there and the scary things we learned about what's happening to islands like that, coming up next.